Hello. Hi.
Technology works. I fucking love it. Yes. Hello, you. Uh, nice to see you, my love. Hello. Cheers from Germany. I say cheers. You know, we have here something like a nouvelle cuisine beer culture in Germany. So I'm drinking right now. I must apologize, but you know what it's like, us chili dudes. Excessive in every way. Might be the drink, might be the chili. That's the way it is. But you're one of those chili dudes. You know what that's like, don't you, mate? So how you doing, Rach? Everything's cool?
I am great. I'm great. My husband said he was going to bring me a beer as well, but we'll see if that happens. I'm doing good though.
Bad husband. I tell you what, if the original husband's not working, there's an Englishman here, you know. My girlfriend is walking around somewhere behind me. She might kill me for saying this, but hey, you know, Nashville, England, might work out. I must say, Rach, I'm super impressed just about the fact that you are in Nashville.
Yeah, I am. Born and raised.
I love that. Is it now in my brain? I have Nashville. Oh, by the way, I forgot about this. We're actually broadcasting this to people, aren't we? Let me just say hello to all the people. Hello, all the people. Nice to see you, and so on. It's me, 420 Chilli Sach, the stinky Englishman who you're lucky you can't smell at the moment because I stink of chili cooking rather badly. I hope you don't. I guess you don't, eh? Rachel, you're stinking of chili cooking?
I smell more like candy than chilies.
Oh, heaven. You know what? I have a dream, Rach. One of my dreams in this world is I would love to make what you Americans, I think you call it cotton candy. Is that right? Cotton candy? I'd love to be able to make cotton candy that was also super hot. Is that possible, do you think?
100%. 100%. Yeah. Definitely. I mean,
so
why not?
Cool.
Yeah, I think I can make that happen. So do they call it something different in Europe? Cotton candy?
Yeah. In Britain, we just what do we call it? Shit, I can't even remember. We call it candy floss. We Brits call it candy floss. Okay. That's right. Okay. And the Germans, they call it Zuckerwatten, which would translate to English as sugar cotton.
Oh, well, okay. Both of those are way more whimsical, in my opinion, than just cotton candy.
I think so. See, to me, much like for you, Nashville is an everyday thing. And for me, Nashville is like, my God, it's so exotic. So the phrase cotton candy to me just brings in these wonderful, beautiful, I think about, you know, that song that they have in baseball games? Take me out to the ballpark. And so on. That's what comes in my mind. And you forget, I come from Britain. Britain is like grey. Yeah. I mean, like you've got Take Me Out to the Ballpark as a song that you guys have going on in your things. You know, in Britain, we have soccer culture. And so we've got like songs about you're going home in an ambulance and stuff like that we sing in soccer. And it's just not as nice. Do you know what I mean? It's not as nice. For those of you, by the way, out there in the world who don't know, this is Rachel. Rachel is coming to us live from Nashville, Tennessee. I've always wanted to say that. Nashville, Tennessee. And Rachel is the head honcho of Nashville Hot Sweets. Tell us a bit about Nashville Hot Sweets, mate.
Well, I basically started making spicy candy for my husband because he loves spicy stuff that like causes him pain, if that's what he's into. So I personally am not into that, but I'll make it for him. And he said that you can find like a sweet and spicy candy, and that's kind of like he loves sugary things. So I developed this recipe for him, and I've been doing it for like 2 years now. And he said, "This is so good, you should start a company." And here I am today. But it's basically it's a lot different than the other spicy candy that you may have had. It has
in what way?
It's pure capsaicin. So it's not pepper derived, extract or tincture or anything like that, or just like pepper mash or anything like that. So it doesn't have that sometimes delicious, pepper flavor. It's still tastes like candy, tastes like whatever flavor I make the candy.
But that must be so brutally hot if it's pure capsaicin, isn't it?
Well, I add a very small amount in the Nashville hot, and that's what I have here. This is like what I could potentially handle. Like, this is my top. I mean, really, I have Nashville hurt. I'm not gonna, I have tried it. I can't do that. I mean, that's far too much capsaicin for me. But this is like a pretty good amount for like a burn. And it's like just one piece, 2 pieces. I have a lot of people tell me that they like eat it while sitting at their desk at the office, like during their 9 to 5 to get that like burn throughout the day. It's perfect for chili heads who always are chasing the burn,
Yeah, chasing the heat, to quote Johnny Scoville right there, the big god that is, Wow, man. So it's your husband who brought you into the chili world then?
Oh, yes, most definitely. So we watch Hot Ones, together. I'm a huge, huge fan of Hot Ones, but I'm not like
Actually, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a hot sauce person though. Particularly, my dad actually is allergic to only one thing, and that's green bell peppers. So I never had Asian food or Mexican food or food with peppers in it my entire life growing up. And only when I met my husband did I start trying those type of things and seeing what my palate is. So I've got a very baby amateur palate right now.
But you've grown up in Nashville, I think, huh?
Yes, and I've never had hot chicken before either.
That's what I was going to say. You guys are famous over there. You've got a lot of spicy food going over in Nashville. Huh?
I'm not the spicy connoisseur. My husband is. So like, I mean, I'll try food and stuff, but I mean, it's way too much for me. I have a very adverse reaction to spicy food, but I'm trying. I'm really, really, really trying. Especially since I started the company. I mean,
I've learned something interesting actually. Years ago, when I kicked off sort of making hot sauce professionally, I've been doing it forever, basically. It was a million years ago. I broke into my uncle's cupboard over in, I have family in Israel. And so we were visiting the family in Israel, and I broke into his cupboard. I shouldn't have been allowed in there, and I wasn't allowed in there, but I broke in. I was about 7, and I got my hands on his glass jars. Thank God the glass jar that I opened was full of chilies, because the rest of it was all illegal drugs. And I popped open. If you could imagine my poor mother, how she must have felt. Her 7-year-old, she found me sitting in a room I wasn't allowed to go into, in front of a cupboard I was definitely not allowed to open, with an empty glass jar in front of me, laughing hysterically, red in the face with tears coming from my eyes. And it was only kind of on a check that people worked out that I hadn't eaten the magic mushrooms, I hadn't eaten the cannabis, I hadn't eaten any of the other illegal and terrible things that were in there. What I did was I went for the most colorful thing, and that was the hot, the super hots, and I chowed them down as a little kid and fell in love. I remember it, actually. I remember it. And I also remember my mother punching my uncle in the face. It was a good punch, that one. Yeah. But then I was never a professional chili cook until a few years ago. And then I met a super inspirational dude. Well, 2 dudes, actually. One of them was a friend of mine, and the other one was a hero of mine. And the hero of mine was a chili cook, and with a chili firm. And I was super impressed by what he did. And he taught me the ins and outs of how to cook my chilies professionally. Oliver is his name. I'll give him a plug right here, actually. The company's called Abenteuer Chili, Adventure Chili, you could call that. Yeah. Here in Germany. And so Ollie was my mentor, and he taught me something really interesting, which was that he was the first chili cook to tell me that after many years of exposure to chilies in a cooking context, he became allergic to them.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Really?
so it is. And so, I mean, I've started to notice that I'm also having similarly unusual reactions to chili these days. Like, there is a traditional thing that we call the chili flu over here in the 420 Chili Company, which everyone gets. I guess maybe you get that when you cook with pure capsaicin. I'm not sure. Chili flu is really simple, yeah? I've had it many times. My girlfriend's had it, and most of my employees have had it through the years. It means normally when you've got something super hot in the air, so you're making a powder out of a super hot chili, or you're boiling up something which involves over 1 million Scovilles, then it goes in the air. And then what happens is, step number one, you have extreme irritation, a lot of coughing, and feeling sorry for yourself. And so you start masking up. I've got some pretty heavy duty gas masks because of it. And then after a while, you get sort of immune to it. And then you get a bit laissez-faire with the gas masks. And then when you start to get laissez-faire and it starts to get back in the lungs, then comes the chili flu, which means you think you're okay when you're cooking. You go to bed, everything's fine. And then you wake up with flu-like symptoms the next day, a bit like a chest infection, like basically because everything's swollen down there a little bit. Do you get that too?
Yeah. Everything that you're describing is probably what I've been doing to myself, because I was super, super good about wearing like a respirator with a mask. And then I decided I'm probably fine without the respirator, and just the mask will do. And I'm still like, it gets you. I mean, it really makes you cough. So that's probably what I've been dealing with. That kind of makes a lot of sense.
But if you're cooking with
like that,
if you're cooking with pure capsaicin, I mean, when you cook, I know that you cook what you guys in the States would call hard candy. For the Brits or the non-Americans who might follow the British word for that, we would call that boiled sweets in England. It's not as sexy as your way of saying it. It really isn't. Yours sounds much better. Hard candy sounds like a movie with Dennis Hopper in it from the 70s. Hard candy,
Do not.
But then,
let me tell you.
But then, if you're cooking hard candy, the process, how does the process work? I mean, I'm guessing that you're boiling a lot of stuff together, and so you're throwing a lot of capsaicin into the air, aren't you, in fumes?
Basically, yeah. I would assume that it's with the flavoring that I also use to like flavor the candy itself, it's a liquid. So regardless of how my capsaicin may be powdered or liquid, it is being thrown into the air via steam. So, I mean, it probably is permeating the air pretty good. I have to wait till my kids are out of the house to do it, because my first few trial runs, I really did pepper spray the family quite bad.
Actually, talking about that, this is something I would like to bring up. I have learned something through the years of doing chili stuff, which is that if you compare females to males, women are just so much more hardcore than men. If you look back on some of our Experts and Idiots episodes, you'll find that there are a few when we have a female and a male at the same time doing the same chili. And without exception, women can take it, men can't take it. And this is something that has added to my respect for, I can't believe in England we would call them the fairer sex. Yeah, I mean, if you ask me, the men are the fairer sex. We're some fucking pussies when it comes to almost everything, yeah? But I'd like to tell all of the people watching this that what you can see in front of you is not only the head honcho of a chili company, but the mother of 4 children. That's four children, who manages to organize a household with 4 children and also run a chili company. And also, let's not forget she has a husband. So it's really like 5 children, not like 4 children, isn't it? Yeah.
We'll see.
How old are the kids, Rach? How old are
Pardon?
the kids? The
Okay,
children, how old are they?
I have a 7-year-old girl, a 6-year-old girl, a 4-year-old boy, and an almost 2-year-old girl. So
Dude.
got a whole bunch over here.
How on earth do you manage your time? I mean, I can't even have a dog whilst I'm running a company, and you got 4 kids. How do you organize that?
I mean, I just started the company a month ago, so I mean, it's definitely been a learning process just even thus far. But I mean, I've got the greatest kids. I mean, I think anybody would say that, but I've really got the greatest kids, and I mean, they allow me, they encourage me. They're like going to school telling their teachers, mommy makes spicy candy. mommy made the air go on fire, and we coughed for a while. That kind of stuff.
So
But
cool.
I mean, I wouldn't say I'm the best at time management or anything like that, but I'm doing really, really well for having 4 kids.
Rachel, dude, I tell you something. One of the things I have as a proviso when I'm employing people, yeah, is like this. If you are a mother who organizes herself as well as her kids, I want you to work for me, because you're much better at organizing shit than anyone else, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's a forced profession. Being a mother is, it's not necessarily something that you anticipate coming with the job. But let's just say I had pink hair when my husband and I met. So I've
Oh,
becoming
okay.
becoming a mother has changed me in more ways than one.
Dude, this is something that I find across the Chile community, with all of us, not just you. Me also had pink hair somewhere in the past. And if you look out to the weird and wonderful people that I've managed to connect with over this bizarre journey I call my brief career in the Chile world, there's something about people who come from, I don't know, let's say the alternative side of life. It brings, the Chile world brings us in, you know?
Yeah.
There's something about it. I can't work out what it is. You could be punks, you could be pink-haired people, fetishistas. I don't know what you might call alternative living, but that just seems to be the milieu of our people. It seems to relate to the Chile world somehow. This extremes of living. We spoke about Johnny Scoville before. I mean, if you look at the Scoville brothers, I believe, I might be wrong about this, but from what I heard from Tommy Scoville, both of them were roadies for the Grateful Dead at some point in the past.
Deadheads. I hadn't heard that.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
I saw the tattoo. Tommy, if I remember correctly, Tommy shot me a picture of his deadhead tattoo. Yeah, there's something about this alternative culture. As we mature and grow older, I am very proud to call myself an old man these days. I love the fact that I'm 42. I've invested all of my time and money in becoming this old, and so I'm super proud of it. But as I get older and I mellow, somehow the Chile world provides me the same input or stimulus as my insane early 90s drug-addled craziness that was my past. I think I prefer my present, to be honest with you. I like now better than I liked before. What do you think? Now is better than before, or what?
A million times. I think getting better all the time, to quote the Beatles. I'm very into change. I believe that all people are capable of changing, and I think it really matters how much you want to change yourself. But saying the alternative side, I mean, I'm from Nashville, which is considered Music City, USA. So it's live music. I mean, that's what my entire childhood has been live music. Actually, 2020 was the first year in my entire life that I didn't see live music for like a whole year. That was just like completely different. But also my husband is a former drummer in Nashville as well. So maybe his being a Chili head has to do with, the rock and roll drumming lifestyle. maybe there's connection there too.
How did you two meet, you and your husband?
Okay. We actually met on vacation in Panama City Beach. My sister, my older sister, and her husband took me on a trip with them as kind of like a third wheel, and they were going on a couples trip. Well, my husband was there as another couple, and we met, and the rest is history. We've been together ever since. So,
how long ago was that?
8 years, just about 8 years.
Congratulations, buddy. I'm
Thank
very
you.
impressed. I've been married twice, and my first marriage lasted less than a week, and my second marriage lasted around about, let me think about this, 3 months.
Well, I'll tell you what the key is. The key is eloping. Don't have a big wedding. Elope. We got married in the Smoky Mountains, and it was just him and I and our Shih Tzu, our little Shih Tzu at the time, and that's all we needed. And we talk about that all the time. Our little tiny wedding that was just the two of us. That it's only our memories. Like, we don't have to share that with anybody else.
The Smoky Mountains. Doesn't that sound romantic? You see, that's the difference between where you come from and where I come from. You have the Smoky Mountains. The biggest mountain range near me is called Ben. That's it. Ben Nevis. That's the name of it. And so you got the Smoky Mountains. We got Ben. Well done. Congratulations.
But the history that you're sitting inside of right now, I mean, that's mind blowing to me. The fact that whole region was like SS, and that for a historical nerd like me, I mean, truly, that is the coolest thing, that I'm talking to someone who owns a business in that area. Like, wow.
Well, I tell you what, mate, our little home where I speak to you from right now, the 420 Chili Lounge, I am about 1 minute's walk away. Yeah, about let's say 5 minutes walk away from the courts where the Nuremberg trials were, where the Nazis were tried. And I think maybe I mentioned this to you before, but I shall repeat myself if I have. One thing I'm beyond proud of is that we kind of opened a Jewish deli here. We have a Jewish delicatessen, which it's our headquarters for the chili firm as well. And we are the first one in our region. I'm not sure if we're the first in Germany, but certainly the first in Bavaria. And what I absolutely love, if we're talking history, is the most important building of Hitler's SS is nearby. And that is the place they ran all of the Nuremberg rallies and so on out of. And we opened our second location direct in the middle of it. So we put a Jewish delicatessen in the most important building of Hitler's SS. And for that, I am extremely proud, I have to say. Very, very proud indeed. But then, yeah, I mean, in terms of history, this area is very interesting, but we don't have, now correct me if I'm wrong, is it in Nashville where you have the Grand Ole Opry? Is that Nashville?
Yes, definitely.
Dude, come on. You're telling me I have fucking history? You got the Grand Ole Opry where you are.
Yeah, for a history nerd like me, I mean, Nashville is awesome when it comes to musical history. I mean, wow, we have a lot of stages that have held, I mean, the best of the best. So
I'm a massive Johnny Cash fan, and I seem to remember I've seen Johnny Cash several times in videos in the Grand Ole Opry with his wife, with June as well. And I tell you what, this is the influence of Nashville on our region. this area saved my life, Gostenhof. I kind of escaped. Gostenhof is the region of Nuremberg where we are located and where I live. And I escaped here to escape from my, let's say, less helpful natural instincts. It's a very conservative area, and so there isn't really a drug scene. It's not a drug-related area. And so for me, it was useful because I'm the kind of guy I can't say no. And so when I got here in my early 20s, I think there was two different directions I could go in. One would be dead by now, and the other one would be move somewhere very conservative where people aren't high all the time, and then have the chance to actually have a life, you know? And so therefore, here, you know, is cool. And Gostenhof, I love it very much. And we have a local beer which is brewed in Gostenhof. We've made an episode with these guys. The beer is called Schanzenbräu. And for me, it's one of the more important, let's say, elements of my life, not the drinking, but the local culture related to it. And I tell you what, mate, when you go in the Schanzenbräu brewery, I was there a few days ago filming an episode of our show, Experts and Idiots. Actually, you'll see that at some point soon, all the people out there. They have a gigantic, beautiful brewery. And the main thing in that brewery is a gigantic picture of Johnny Cash on stage in the Grand Ole Opry.
Wow. Wow. That is crazy. That is such a niche thing I would not expect to see in Europe at all. That's awesome. I mean, he deserves it, first of all. I mean, Johnny Cash is the absolute king. But that is so cool. Wow. I mean, if I were on vacation in Europe, that is definitely not something I would expect to see out there.
Quinty, when we all of us have the chance to travel again, for those of you watching this outside of the time frame of now, let me just put this in a context. At the moment, we're all having fun with a gigantic pandemic, which is called COVID-19, and traveling is less possible than normal. And so in that context, when you have the chance to travel again, come down, I'm going to take you there, you're going to see it. And that's how it's going to look.
Absolutely.
That's how it's going to look for you.
I want to come see.
How does it work for you? How does it work for you guys over there in the States? So here in Europe, we get satellite news. You know, I mean, we get news from the States. I've always been in love with America all of my life. When I grew up, it was a moral authority. It was a place built by immigrants, and it had this kind of wisdom to it, and it was wonderful. Certainly growing up in the Cold War, America for me was like a beautiful, wise thing, you know? And so, of course, now in Europe, and I'm not sure, there'll be people watching us now from other places in the world, from Australia, for example. And the news that we get coming out of the States is news media. Yeah. And so news media is strongly influenced by partisan politics, very strongly. And so I don't think we really get a true picture of things, very honestly. I would say unless you're on the ground in the States, it's very difficult to really have a feeling for the situation over there right now. But how are things working out with the COVID situation for you guys over there? I'm hearing wonderful things about Joe Biden. I think that was today. He said, Joe Biden, the president, of course, said today something in the context of the mask restrictions are now being released on people, that you have around 50% of your population inoculated against COVID these days. But you have to remember this shit gets filtered through Fox News, and there's a lot of, especially in the Chilli world, actually, you know, there's a lot of scary hicks you've got in our world, gun-toting, Trump-voting dudes who filter information out weirdly. So, I mean, how are things going in the States now? Are they normalizing a bit over there for you in Nashville, or will you be traveling soon?
I personally will not be traveling outside of like the state. I don't have any plans to travel outside of the state anytime soon. But in Nashville specifically, our mask laws are being lifted. So if you're, outdoors, you don't have to be wearing a mask. And then they're also changing like capacity, because like Nashville has a lot of really close, super, super tight bars. Like our bar scene, they're very small. So trying to like filter smaller amounts of people in there has been a difficult thing throughout COVID. So for a time they were all shut down. Our bar scene was. But now they're opening it up to like 50% capacity in bars. And I mean, I'm interested to see what it is that brings us. I do feel like a lot of it's pushed for tourism. Nashville is a huge tourist destination. So, I see, I understand, why they're doing it. I can't say I'm for it or against it, but I mean, it's definitely, it's killed millions of people. It's been really awful here in the States, for a lot of people, and not just the people it's killed, the people who've gotten sick, lost their jobs, been affected a million different other ways by it. I do feel that I feel positive somehow, that we'll get on the other side of this together. And the only way anything else is going to get better is if people stay positive and work together and support small businesses. And that's why I'm such a big believer in starting my company right now, is because I want to support fellow small businesses. And I think that this is such a great time for a rebirth of sorts for our economy. And I hope it worked out. I hope everybody stays healthy. And, I'll be doing vendor markets for the first time this season. And that's going to be like an outdoor type deal. So we'll see how this whole thing goes. It's kind of
I think that's a wonderful, positive statement for us to close up on here for our lovely people watching us. Buy local, support small businesses, keep positive, keep moving forwards. And from myself here in Germany, and I'm sure also from my dear Rachel over there in Nashville, we all wish you happiness, health, and a really cool future. Ciao, everyone.
Bye.